Hi, everybody. We're ready to go right down to the floor for the last round of day one at the World Championships. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right down there now. Hello and welcome to round 7 of the World Championships. Brandon David Marshall here with Simon Gertzen. Let's meet the players that we're going to be watching here in this last round.
Willy Edel, Brazil, top pro points, Latin America.
Sam Black, United States of America, pro player at large.
All right. And then you get a look at Sam Black on the right there at the front table. He's playing, of course, he's playing Birthing Pod,
Yes.
Simon. What do you know about the Birthing Pod deck?
The Birthing Pod has also evolved, just like the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck has, and it's really more of a value deck right now.
Right. And now, Willy Edel, there you get a look at him. He's playing a similar, at least some overlapping cards with this deck in Siege Rhino.
I would say he's playing a similar deck to the deck he usually plays in Modern, which is Abzan.
Right. So we're underway here. Noble Hierarch leads things off for Sam Black, and Willy Edel wastes no time just swatting aside a Birthing Pod with his Thoughtseize.
It's the most scary card.
Looks at an opening hand that has Kitchen Finks, Courser of Krufix, a Thoughtseize of Sam's own, and a land, and he's just like, get that the heck out of here.
Yeah. Black could have tried to protect his Birthing Pod with a Thoughtseize of his own, but the turn 1 mana accelerant when your hand is Birthing Pod, Kitchen Finks, and Cursor of Krufix is just too good to pass up.
Correct. Yeah. He was looking at the turn 2 Birthing Pod if he wanted it.
Exactly, which is very, very tough for Abzan to deal with.
And so talk about the Abzan deck a little bit that Willy Edel's playing. Tell us what we're keeping an eye on here. So it's Kitchen Finks, by the way, for Sam Black, who takes 2 from his Shockland and then gets it right back from his Finks.
That's a good deal, and really has to look out for all the value that's going to come out of the pod deck. He's trying to fight that with early discard. He's playing 8 discard spells. He has 4 Liliana of the Veils, which is pretty much a mainstay, but people have shied away from that, given that there has now been these Treasure Cruise decks popping up. Looks like Black has no hand left after this discard spells.
Willy deploys both a Inquisition of Kozilek and another Thoughtseize to get Thoughtseize and Courser of Krufix.
Yeah, the real question is, how does the Abzan deck generate value from then on? It has probably the most powerful creatures, or the most, you get the most efficient creatures, let's put it that way, in 4 Tarmogoyf, 4 Scavenging Ooze, and Siege Rhino.
By the way, Willy Edel already at 8. He took a lot of damage from his Thoughtseize and from his lands, and now that Kitchen Finks is hitting for 4 a turn, thanks to the exalted ability of Noble Hierarch.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think that anybody should be playing Abzan right now. But if there's one person in this room, it is Willy Edel.
Okay, so there we see a Scavenging Ooze.
So that, with its ability, is going to prevent Kitchen Finks from coming back. So the persist might not be a big deal if Willy Edel maybe abrupt decays it next turn. Also, the discard was definitely huge, because the value chain of just Birthing Podding up creature after creature is definitely not happening unless Black draws into a pod.
You see Sam goes to 19 from his Windswept Heath.
Yeah, this was a nice hand by Willy to be on the draw with. His opponent had the mana accelerant, but you could basically make sure that at no point the scariest cards would resolve.
And this was, I believe, a 6-card hand from Willy Edel. He did mulligan his opening 7.
He knows exactly what his deck needs in basically all matchups. He's played this deck so much for years.
The answer is Thoughtseize.
Yeah. Oh, that's 5 now.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Willy, you're at 3.
Yeah, at least there's no burn spells to worry about. So once the Kitchen Finks are dealt with, and we can take a look at Willy's hand, which does in fact have abrupt decay. 2 more Scavenging Oozes, not really what you need when you have 1 on the battlefield. It used to be really good when the pod decks was still going for Melira combo, but as I've said, you really just see these decks pod out Siege Rhinos, Linvala if it stops a combo deck, Restoration Angels, Murderous Redcaps. Then you usually have a Revelark at 5, and a late game that's often decided by Gavany Township activations.
And Willy doesn't waste any time. He just, on his own turn, abrupt decays and removes the Kitchen Finks, gets himself a little bit of life back.
And that's a birthing pod.
Oh boy, birthing pod. Activate using the Noble Hierarch, sacrifice a Noble Hierarch.
So this is where Willy has to prove that his Abzan deck can beat an active birthing pod. Except for his life throw, this game has gone really, really well.
So what are we expecting to see here? Voice of Resurgence?
Voice of Resurgence for extra value.
Yep.
That's
There
pretty
it is.
much the only real 2-drop, especially because you don't want to get into a Scavenging Ooze battle at this stage.
Sure.
Samurai Black is aiming to go up the chain anyway. So I expect him to get the creatures that are best to sacrifice at any stage. Clearly, the Scavenging Ooze does make Eternal Witness and Kitchen Finks weaker, but then at 4 mana, the pot deck really gets going. Well, once it gets to fetch 4 mana creatures.
So what outs does Willy Edel have here to the birthing pod? I mean, I know he has maybe a main deck Maelstrom Pulse, but only a single copy.
Yeah, that's he does love his one-off, which his sideboard does prove. We'll get to that later. Sometimes it is possible to just destroy all your opponent's creatures. So, for example, if you have a Dark Blast for a Noble Hierarch or something like that, then maybe this wouldn't even happen in the form that we saw it. Otherwise, he really has to overpower the active birthing pod, and that's why I'm saying I can't really see playing Abzan when a value-based birthing pod deck is so resilient and so good.
So he's able to get his Scavenging Ooze up to 4 power here.
Something that we could see is Linvala being relevant here as well. It's one of the most important cards against the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck, but it's also really, really good if you just have to keep the Scavenging Oozes down.
So abrupt decay off the top for Sam Black kills the larger of the Scavenging Oozes.
Yeah, this is an interesting attack because it's only made possible by Exalted.
Right.
And Willy blocked here, at least that's what it looked like.
Yeah, he blocked, made his guy bigger, went up to 5, and then he's going to, trade. I use the air quotes.
I think that Sam Black does this attack because he's basically sure that Willy doesn't want to block. Willy is kind of happy because the large card in his hand is the last Scavenging Ooze that clearly nobody's expecting after having dealt with the 2 others.
Right, now Sam activates his birthing pod, sacrifices his other Noble Hierarch, and I guess we're going to expect to see... No, we see a Scavenging Ooze of hit from him.
Oh, so he wants to win the Scavenging Ooze battle. I wouldn't have been surprised to see another Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
When Voice of Resurgence became lethal, we had a tournament where Pod was just really dominant, and all the players were saying, I played 2 Voice of Resurgence, I should have played more. I played 3 Voice of Resurgence, I should have played more.
I played 4, I should have played more.
Yeah. And now the Scavenging Ooze is live for Black. It's going to be potentially an interesting battle if Edel is now playing his own, and then who tries first to exile a card. That's kind of a weird interaction there.
But I assume with Scavenging Ooze on the stack here.
Yeah, if Sam does it with Scavenging Ooze on the stack, then he is getting the life and the counters, but then he's also allowing his opponent to get the life and the counters. Right. And that might not be what Black wants.
And that seems to be where he's arrived. He was about to do it, and then he's like, oh,
yep.
maybe I want to play this, staring game, this saber rattling game with you.
And the difference here is Sam did have to think about this. He did come to the right conclusion. Willy didn't. Scavenging Ooze mirrors, that's like daily business if you're named Edel.
And, well, you know what? He's like, you're a 5. I'm attacking with my Scavenging Ooze. Got 5 mana to your 2. How do you want to do this?
He did play the Temple Garden untapped because he really wanted the extra land.
Right.
He now knows that he is not losing this battle. And that's... If your opponent can counter 2 activations with his mana, and you have 5 mana, you're basically exactly threatening 5 damage. with your Scavenging Ooze. So the way this would work is you exile a card, your opponent tries to respond, you respond again, and then you trade off 2 mana each, and then you still have the remaining mana.
There you go. Scavenging Ooze, block Scavenging Ooze. And Sam says, let's start the battle. Okay?
Yeah, I was expecting the elemental token to attack as well. Not sure why that didn't happen. So now we see exactly this exchange where it's basically targeted creature. It's not super relevant which one it is.
Sure.
And the person with more mana is basically guaranteed to come out ahead. Oh, the Godless Shrine, by the way, is not producing green, so that is definitely relevant here. But it does still mean that the exchange is heavily favoring black here. So him getting Scavenging Ooze was a good move because both Tarmogoyf and Edel Scavenging Ooze wouldn't have been good on that battlefield.
Right. And now the elemental token gets Birthing Potted away for a bird or a noble hired bird of paradise. Willy Edel, who's holding only an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, draws his card for the turn. Needs to be a Maelstrom Pulse, needs to be
a Maelstrom Pulse.
Decay.
A Maelstrom Pulse to survive and to continue this game of you're drawing a card each turn. I'm doing the same, but I'm also going up the Birthing Pot.
Right, yeah.
It was the turn where black had 6 mana available and drew the Birthing Pot. It was exactly the card that he wanted to see, maybe except for a 4 or 5 drop.
Right. So Sam continues to grow his. Oh, and it was Abrupt Decay. Look at that.
Yeah. So the game is not over. Really is fighting to stay alive here. Gavany Township the draw for black. So. Yeah, just turn this bird into a 2-drop. We've seen that interaction before, and there are enough 2-drops. 3
he's going to go for
voices,
Voice
a
of
Scavenging
Resurgence
Ooze,
here.
so there can't be too much more left. Yeah, at some point you might be forced to get a Wall of Roots and just go from there. But even then, you can get Eternal Witness at 3. There's so much value.
Yeah. And there's a Siege Rhino. So, more turns for Willy Edel.
He's making a game out of this. After it looked lost, he basically had to chump block with his Scavenging Ooze. So that's quite impressive. Abrupt Decay, Siege Rhino in conjunction.
Right, but Gavany Township starts to do its work on the Voice of Resurgence. Now a 3/3. Sam can really kind of. Can he sit back? No, I mean he's gonna.
Well, he doesn't even want to sit back.
Right.
He's the one pressuring his opponent. The fact that he's gaining more value doesn't mean that he's not interested in putting on pressure.
Right.
His opponent has just the one unknown card, which is actually a land, and black might actually be suspecting that at this point. There's Gavany Township, an active Birthing Pot, and that could actually mean that we go for Kitchen Finks here, which is very, very hard to kill with an active Township. That could mean that the 1/1/1 counter is not doing anything, but it was free. It was free for black anyway. I see no reason not to continue the chain, just because you have a 3/3 in play.
Okay. So activate Birthing Pod. Sacrifice Voice Resurgence.
Yeah.
Get an elemental token.
Yeah, this is going to be Eternal Witness, I think.
Yeah.
Because
and you just get back Voice of Resurgence.
it can't be the plan to get back Voice because
He just gets back Scavenging.
yeah, it had to be something where he wanted the mana for because he paid 2 life to activate Birthing Pod.
Sure.
So this is why we see him play it that way. That way he can play the Scavenging Ooze and have 2 green mana untapped.
So Sam's at 10, but Siege Rhino's going to have a hard time.
Wait, are we? I think the Scavenging Ooze is either in Sam's hand or he has to tap 2 mana to cast it.
Actually, yeah. Wait.
Yeah, this. Did I miss something? Oh no, actually, he got the Eternal Witness from the pot, and then you already used his mana, so
Yeah.
it's all fine. I was just confused that the Godless Shrine was untapped, which I thought you would tap,
Right.
but that was my
So,
mistake.
and Scavenging Ooze quickly makes its way up to being a 5/5.
That's actually one of the truths about Modern. The 2-drops are already super threatening. You see that even a card like Siege Rhino, we all know it from Standard, of course, is pretty mediocre compared to the Scavenging Ooze that's going to start the beatdown
If
here.
you look at the art there, it kind of looks like he's running away from an army of little tutus.
Except that the 2/2 is currently a 5/5, threatening to become, well, basically arbitrarily large. Not even sure if that is a necessary order of pontiff. It is
Yeah.
probably being used to pump up the team, and that's a lethal attack.
Okay, and there you have it. Sam Black takes game 1 from Willy Edel. All right, and we'll be back with more Magic action right after these messages.
Have you ever dreamt of drafting the greatest hits of Magic? The all-new Legacy Cube is available on Magic Online until December 10th. Download Magic Online at www.mtgo.com and live the dream. Hump bigger game by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Baltimore, Milan, Denver, Manila, Omaha, and Shizuoka. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule.
All right, we're back here in the last round of day 1 at the World Championship, and we're going to peek in right now on Shahar Shenhar, the reigning world champion, playing against Owen Turtenwald, the #1 ranked player in the Pro Tour Top 25, and these guys are already into Game 3 here. And
Yeah,
Goblin Guide is coming in on Owen Turtenwald.
I actually think that playing an aggressive deck like Mono Red Burn, splashing white and blue, is quite a smart choice if you also want to have some breaks between rounds.
Yes.
If you always have to go into these combo turns, and especially like with Jeskai Ascendancy, it's just mentally more exhausting. Not that I'm saying that the deck is easier to play, but just playing
It's
less.
faster to play.
Yes.
You still have a ton of decisions to make, and there's all these really crucial junctures in the game. You get through them a lot quicker, and they happen on the early turns.
You also accumulate more easy wins in the sense that you don't have to think hard, but your opponents do.
Right. And there, it looks like Shahar Shenhar has brought in the sideboard double splashed Geist of St. Traft in this matchup.
Geist of St. Traft, I love the card, but I always find it a bit confusing to see it out of a mono red deck.
Mono red deck, yeah.
It does require both colors of mana. You are going to take quite a lot of damage to cast it, if you even get to 3 mana, which is not really what you want to be doing.
How happy is the Ascension deck to get lands off of a Goblin Guide? We've seen the deck kind of scuffle a little bit with lands here and there.
Yes, it's not really likely to happen because there are so few, but the second and then maybe third land are really the only lands you need, and they are super valuable.
Which is what we just saw. We just saw Owen pick up. He just hit. And there's Eidolon of the Great Revel. That's a I imagine a must-kill card for Owen Turtenwald.
If Owen had counter spells in his deck, he would be using them right now. It's not easy to kill. It's it's not easy to kill in an efficient way.
Sure.
If you have lightning bolts, sure. But if not, do you maybe even bring in Wear Tear? Just to kill the enchantment part of Eidolon of the Great Revel? This is, you don't want to start grape shotting your opponent's team, because you need to start to play spells. You take additional damage. It's usually not a winning line here.
So, both of these players sitting at 4-2 right now. So, going in 5-2, into the more familiar formats is just a tremendous boon here.
Psychologically, 5-2 is just so much better than 4-3. 4-3 just feels average. 5-2 feels like, I'm definitely in the top in the running.
It's also like the difference almost between fantasizing about what you need to do. You're like, oh, I only need to do this on day 2 to make the top 4, whereas maybe dreading what you need to do to make the top 4.
Let's see what Owen can really do here against the Eidolon. We saw Patrick Chapin basically lock Shahar out of the game, but that's not an option. And yeah, I'm not really sure. I was thinking of if maybe you have enough life to work with, if it's actually viable to somehow combo off, like do a little bit of combo, grape shot the Eidolon, then the rest of the combo, so that you don't lose the storm value, but that's a degree harder than just going off. It requires some serious thought.
Yeah,
Serious thought.
that's a tightrope wire you don't necessarily want to be walking.
And one that you probably haven't really prepared for. It's not like I don't expect Owen to have played against Eidolon of the Great Revel a big deal, because you actively have to find somebody to test that against, and the time is always critical, especially before these tournaments.
All right, so a little more damage for Owen. Sacrifices his Scalding Tarn. Gets a white bordered mountain for easier searchability.
Yeah, interesting to see him fetch a mountain here. Sure, we'll see the reason. Usually, the Storm decks do want to have as much blue mana as possible.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Goblin Electromancer.
Goblin Electromancer takes I think we're going to see an attempt to go off here.
So
like you said,
it might be actually it might actually be possible to go off just until you have. I think I see a 7 there on Owen's life total pad. So if he goes down to, let's say, 3, then casts a non-lethal Grape Shot, of which 2 copies target the Eidolon, then he can just win on 1 life. He wouldn't be able to cast Gitaxian Probes, but I think he got it because he has a Past in Flames in hand to get him there. And that is a 4-mana spell, so that's no damage.
Past in Flames is free from damage.
But there's,
I think the missing piece here is
the missing piece is the Grape Shot.
the Grape Shot or a Bolt or.
Okay, so is his only out to draw?
Here
off
we
that
go.
1 card?
He casts Metamorphose.
Going down to 3.
Just 2 blue floating with this on the stack? Yes. I'm going to name white, red.
And it draws another Goblin Electromancer.
Yeah, that's definitely too many lands. I was completely expecting him to have a Grape Shot here to get rid of his opponent's team, and he would have needed like more Metamorphoses or some card draw spells. Once we saw that he had 4 lands in hand, it was really a desperation attempt. I'm not even sure if you should go for that, because he spent all his life points and his hand to get an extra card draw off of Metamorphose. That just doesn't seem worth it.
Yep, and there's a Lava Spike, and that's the win for Shahar Shenhar. Shahar Shenhar goes to 5-2. You're defending world champion in great shape overnight going into day 2. Hey, I mean, Owen Turtenwald, 4-3, solid shape, knows what he needs to do.
So the thing is, if you play 4-3, 4-3, you're probably not making the top 4. So that's kind of what you have to keep in mind.
You're rooting for Patrick Chapin at that point to keep winning.
To keep dream crushing.
Yeah, so here we go. We get a Thoughtseize from Willy Edel. And he Thoughtseizes a Birthing Pod over...
Wall of Roots and Restoration Angel.
Restoration Angel. So not a very threat-dense hand.
No, in a perfect world, you would love to take the 2-drop here, because you leave black with quite expensive cards. But as we've seen, an active Birthing Pod is almost impossible to beat for Edel. So I'm not sure if we actually saw white mana yet in Black's hand, so it's possible that a turn 3 Restoration Angel is made impossible by the mana, but not with a turn 1 burst.
Here's a Bird of Paradise to turn that on.
So what I find fascinating is that Willy Edel is on an attrition game plan. He's on an attrition deck. Let's put it that way, and he has the Dark Blast to prove it.
The Dark Blast for the bird.
So he really wants to Liliana people out, which I find ambitious in a Treasure Cruise Dig Through Time format. But it's going to be quite effective here as long as Black does not get a Birthing Pod going.
Well, right, and this is one of the few non-Treasure Cruise decks that he can find himself matched up against.
Yeah, and then Dark Blast. If people weren't playing the Jeskai Ascendancy version that relies on Fate Stitcher, it would even be great in that matchup because Lars Dam, for example, is only relying on Birds and Noble Hierarch.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to show you Willy Edel's hand. That's actually a good hand to keep the pod player off of creatures completely. It is, however, not a good hand if you're stuck on 2 mana.
He draws for the
Is
turn.
it a land?
It's not gonna. That doesn't look like. Oh no, looks.
Yeah, it looks like a Tarmogoyf.
Yep, you are correct. It was a Tarmogoyf, and he plays it.
Yeah, we have an artifact, a creature, a land. Dark Blast is a sorcery, and Thoughtseize is. No, sorry, Dark Blast is an instant.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize is a sorcery, so it already has 4 power.
So yeah.
Yeah, and there's the land in the graveyard, so it's actually 5 power.
Yeah, you
Wall
see
of Roots is not even blocking it.
Yeah. See the players start to add it up.
I would just expect a white mana source here because that allows a Black to get Restoration Angel down. It's not great value you're getting, but at least you get to block with Wall of Roots, blink it, and you get a 3/4 attacker into play. Willy Edel, as always, is already down to 14. That's what Thoughtseizing and playing your lands untapped does to you.
So Thoughtseize from Sam Black sees a set of Lilianas of the Veil.
That was a difficult decision for Black. He could have played Restoration Angel this turn, which would be vastly more mana efficient, but he wanted to know what his opponent was up to, is now just praying that there is no untapped mana source.
He has to take the Abrupt Decay there.
If there's 3 Lilianas, if you take one,
Right.
you aren't accomplishing anything.
No, absolutely.
The thing is, Liliana plus 1ing puts pressure on your hand. It also grows the Tarmogoyf because suddenly your Planeswalker is going to be in the graveyard.
Okay, here we go. A card.
That does not appear to be an untapped land, once again. Willy doesn't have a lot of cards that he can't cast, but Lingering Souls is one of them. So Lingering Souls and Siege Rhino were the worst draws here for him.
Right.
Simply because they are uncastable.
Right. And at this point for Lingering Souls, he's really just looking to discard that to a Liliana.
Yeah. On the other side of the table, Sam Black doesn't really have much of his own. Ever since that Birthing Pod got discarded, he hasn't really drawn action spells. Gavany Township is great in this matchup, but only if you get a critical mass of creatures. And that's why Edel is so aggressively attacking the creature base, bringing in Dark Blast to make sure that even the mana creatures are not surviving, because those turn into Voice of Resurgences or Scavenging Oozes, and that's not something that Black wants.
So, Patrick Chapin fans, 7-0. He wins 2-0 over Even Flock. He is well clear of the field at this point. Even Flock falls to 5-2 in great shape going into day 2, but Patrick Chapin 7-0, and really we're not seeing him drop many games.
No. He did, but then it looked like he had the perfect plan for games 2 and 3. Against Sean McLaren, it was just a study in how to out-control the control deck.
Yeah, and by the way, when we did an interview with Patrick, he did not have Modern as his strongest format. He thinks his strongest format is the back end of day Oh, there's the Liliana Veil. But he thinks the back end of day 2, standard, is his strength. So,
Yeah, let's see if he still needs wins at that point.
yeah.
So Liliana forces a sacrifice here, which is great to play around Restoration Angel because the blinking won't protect your creature, of course, from the edict effect.
So I guess we're going to see... Oh, he needs to tap a white mana to do that.
Yeah, so he made the marginally more mana efficient play there,
Right.
and he's also threatening the Liliana on the backswing.
Right. That just makes the Tarmogoyf bigger.
What dies grows the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
So Gavany Township is also active. At 14 life, really doesn't really have to be afraid of being attacked by Restoration Angels. So for Black, it does kind of make sense to kill Liliana. On the other hand, Black knows that there's more Lilianas coming.
Right.
So if Edel wants to get rid of the Restoration Angel immediately, he has to play a Liliana from his hand and loses the one he has in play.
Is that what you would do here?
I think there's actually no real reason to attack Liliana here. I think you should attack Willy.
Yep.
This play was even better before the legend rule change, because Willy Edel wouldn't even be able to cast the Liliana at this spot.
Willy draws for the turn. He decides to attack the hand. Ha! Ha! And discards his Lingering Souls.
He can still
yep.
play a Liliana,
Yeah,
clearly.
plays a Liliana, gets his Tarmogoyf to a 6.
He had the decision to make whether to keep... yeah, okay. Sablak just concedes
Yeah,
here.
he's like, okay, you got me.
Willy Edel
And-
might be doing it. Might just go 4-0 in Modern because that's what he does.
Went 0-3 in Vintage Masters, and then has rattled off 3 straight wins in Modern.
With a deck that's on paper looks disadvantaged against the whole field.
But you see that a lot of these decks have these they keep their opening hands, and it's kind of like a glass house. And Thought Season and Inquisition, and you can really completely disrupt the plan. So we're peeking in on Yuki Ichikawa and Josh Utter-Layton here, and so this is Teamer Delver versus the Jeskai Ascendancy combo, and we have part 1 in play for Josh Utter-Layton.
Yeah, and rather full graveyard, pretty full hand.
Is there a Fate Stitcher in his yard?
I see Serum Visions. I think that's Thought Scour. And can't make out the last card. Don't think it's Fate Stitcher. It looks like Cataxian Probe. Yeah, it's definitely a spell for 1 mana. So no Fate Stitcher yet, but with Jeskai Ascendancy, you might just draw into it.
Right.
The question is, how much life does he have? With Tarmogoyf, Delver, and Snapcaster attacking at the game having gone on for a while, Utter-Layton can't have too much time here.
Josh is at 4 life, so we the Ascendancy player is going to need to ascend right now.
Combo time.
Yep.
Not so sure. The Swan Song doesn't really look too impressive. On the other hand, having Pact of Negation is a pretty nice way to protect your Fate Stitcher while still getting to trigger the Ascendancy.
Right. So there he's holding a Treasure Cruise. I think he's holding a Dig Through Time as well.
A true also Fairy Conclave, with the issue being that it would have Summoning Sickness if you played it this turn. So this is going to be the quest for Fate Stitcher. So Treasure Cruise is already supported here for a single blue. First you get to draw and discard with Jeskai Ascendancy.
So he just removes his graveyard to draw 3 cards. First draws 1 from the Ascendancy.
Exactly, which is an Is It Charm. Josh does not... If Josh is planning for the game to end this turn, he doesn't need the Fairy Conclave. It would just be a weak... one of his weakest lands to have. Ascendancy number 2, Serum Visions. Now, he doesn't have the time to play another Jeskai Ascendancy, except maybe if he's going off anyway. So it's really just, do I find a Fate Stitcher now, and do I then have the time to use it? So it was actually Jeskai Ascendancy, Serum Visions, and Fate Stitcher that he drew.
Okay.
So that was part one of the plan. It's not in the graveyard yet, though.
Well, I think we're going to fix that right now with Serum Visions.
Yeah, that was actually the Ascendancy trigger. So now we do have Fate Stitcher action.
So now he needs a blue source to unearth. There it is, an island.
Yeah, that mountain.
So he unearths the Fate Stitcher. Fate Stitcher has haste, untaps the Hollowed Fountain, and should be able to go off from here.
He has a Gitaxian Probe,
He's a 4.
which is one of the few ways to generate mana once you have the Fate Stitcher out. It doesn't look like he'll be able to use the Pact of Negation, but there is definitely a line here where he Pact of Negations one of his own spells just to generate 1 extra mana.
Right. So he Gitaxian probes. He goes to 2. He sees Treasure Cruise, Tarmogoyf, and Spell Snare. And then the F6. Ichikawa, noted Magic Online player, hits F6 and says, if you can kill me, kill me.
Go for it. This is going to be the die that is counting the power on Fate Stitcher here.
So, you see, it just continues to untap lands.
Yeah, the good thing is that you can just play all 1 mana spells for free. I hope that it doesn't hurt him that he has the reactive Swan Songs in his hand.
Oh, there's another Fate Stitcher.
Okay,
and
now,
that's gonna...
with your
that's-
opponent having F6,
Yes.
that's definitely great to see. Now every single spell is going to generate mana here.
Right. All right, here comes the second Fate Stitcher. Fate Stitcher 2 lands.
Yeah, one of them is going to be a bit weaker than the other. if Josh goes off here, it doesn't
Right.
really matter what's...
Yeah. Pays mana for the Gitaxian probe. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like Josh Utterlayton's going to be able to pull this one out. We're going to go back to our front table match between Sam Black and Willy Edel. There you get a look at Sam Black. He's got a Bird of Paradise in play, and there's Willy Edel. What's he doing on turn 1? He's resolving a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, this is just crazy. You can never know if he isn't holding another 2 discard spells and just somehow attritioning you out, even though you are the one drawing towards Birthing Pot.
Yeah, and as expected, once I saw the third Fate Stitcher going to the yard, Josh Utterlayton wins that game and the match 2-1.
Impressive deck building, impressive gameplay. That's a very well-deserved victory there.
So, Thoughtseize takes Kitchen Finks.
So that was the most proactive spell in Black's hand, who now also has reactive cards in Thoughts. Well, Thoughtseize is somewhat proactive, but it doesn't put pressure on Edel, who really wants to win the long game here. Oh,
Is a Tarmogoyf and lands.
he had
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf and lands. Now it's
Now
down
it's just fodder for the next Tarmogoyf.
Treetop Village. Yeah, this is an uphill battle. I'm wondering if Willy had to mulligan.
I think he did again. I think I saw him mulliganing.
Because the Thoughtseize Tarmogoyf hand only does not look too impressive here.
Yeah, he was on the draw this turn.
His hope has to be that Black has Noble Hierarch and the 2 Abrupt Decays, but none of these cards will put pressure on him. So Willy does have time to draw out of this, maybe with the removal spell, Liliana.
I'm being told in my ear that there were no mulligans.
It's possible that Willy decided that this was good enough. The turn 1 Thoughtseize is worth a lot.
Yeah.
Because it does allow you to check for Birthing Pot.
Right.
And you can easily draw into a 3-drop, and you will not. Basically, you don't notice that you kept a mana heavy hand.
So Noble Hierarch comes down for Sam Black. Who's now down to a pair of Abrupt Decays.
Yes, and Edel drew an Abrupt Decay of his own. I think with the game state as it is, it's going to be really difficult to attack Black's mana base. You can't really keep that down.
Oh, there's a Siege Rhino off of 2 lands.
That means that the Abrupt Decay can't target it, and even if you draw Liliana, there's 2 creatures that are happily going to be sacrificed so that the Siege Rhino can do its job. Edel down to 12, so he has at most 3 turns, and keep in mind that there is the Exalted trigger as well.
Right. So does he have to start thinking about killing a Noble Hierarch to maybe slow down the...
I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
You kill the best creature you can kill with
Right.
Abrupt Decay, and then you just cross your fingers that Black does not draw a creature. Well, a 5-drop is also fair game. On the other hand, you are still on that 3-turn clock. You definitely don't want to start chump blocking with Treetop Village. You have so many lands in hand and almost no way to get rid of them.
Treetop Village gets in there.
So what we could see maybe is also a Siege Rhino by Edel, so that because the Exalted Noble Hierarch is gone,
Right.
you do have a blocker.
Sure.
That would definitely be a way to go. That
Grafdigger's Cage from
I'm feeling bad now for Willy here. It's,
and it just gets Abrupt Decayed.
that's an aggressive Abrupt Decay. The cage itself was not doing anything at that moment. It's possibly because Black is holding that Revelarch. He has 2 Abrupt Decays anyway, so he kind of definitely afford
Right.
to do so. Is this the turn where where Edel is chump blocking with Treetop Village and
It is.
still taking trample damage?
It is.
I'm very impressed that he went 3-0 with Abzan. I think his run might be over. If Black finds a land here, he can actually just cast the Revelarch, and he even has Gavany Township, so with the option to make his Siege Rhino 5 power, still not lethal.
Yeah.
So it's not what we're going to see here. I mean, this exchange, why would you not let damage resolve?
Right. Pushes the Treetop Village in the way. Here comes a Revelarch, and the top of the deck has to be some kind of miracle for Willy Edel here.
Siege Rhino. It is Siege Rhino.
There it is.
Does keep him alive.
So Siege Rhino drops Sam to 10.
Oh, Gavany Township is pretty good in Siege Rhino fights.
Yes. And
Yeah, it's
Tectonic Edge
also
is
going to be lethal if Black has a land.
It looks like he just has another Siege Rhino. That's the game. Sam Black wins. He goes to 4-3. Willy Edel 0-3, 3-0, and then loses to fall to 3-4 overnight. So there you see, that was the last match playing in the feature match area. So there you have it. We saw Willy Edel fall to Sam Black. Yuchi Ichikawa fell to Josh Utter late and played Jeskai Ascendancy, and you got to see what that deck was capable of.
It wasn't 100%, right? He still had to find the right cards. He
Right.
had to find the first phases, then the second, and then it was sufficient.
Shahar Shenhar over Owen Turtenwald, and then, of course, Patrick Chapin, your last undefeated player, perfected day one here at the World Championship, 7-0, and, feels like he's heading into day 2 with his best format ahead of him.
Yeah, he's worked on limited. KTK, I would think he's going to do at least solidly.
Yeah.
Standard, I expect great things once again.
So so does Patrick. I mean, he really feels like he is an advantage standard player. When we did our interview yesterday, he said, this is what I do. I know standard.
So we could easily seeing like a 10-4, 11-3.
I mean, what has to happen tomorrow for him to not make top 4?
Yeah, that's a viable question. But of course, we do have seen these players also at the Pro Tour go XO then OX.
Right.
You do have to keep it up.
Yes, absolutely. But we're going to send it back to the news desk where I have a sneaking suspicion we might have an opportunity to hear a little something from Patrick Chapin. Simon Gertzen, Brian David Marshall, sending it back.
No, BDM, we're not going to do that. Can't be bothered. It's too late. He's not interesting enough. 7-0. Yeah, that doesn't seem right, does it? We should definitely talk to Patrick Chapin, and he is just across the studio getting mic'd up as we speak. So, of course, you'll hear from the 7-0 Patrick Chapin. Let me bring you some results, though, before we head over there. Ray Perez Jr., hats off to him, went 0-3 in Vintage Masters, 0-2 in Modern, pulled himself round, won round 6, so off the mark, was very pleased, obviously, and has just beaten Reed Duke to go to 2-5 overnight. Reed Duke is at 2-5. For both of those players, when they come back tomorrow, they must go 7-0 realistically to have a shot at the top 4. Shahar Shenhar, you know, is 5-2. That means Owen Turtenwald falls to 4-3. That puts Shahar ahead of the curve for top 4. Owen, just a bit behind. We think somewhere around about 9-5 may take you into the top 4. Patrick Chapin, of course, 7-0 over Even Flock, 5-2. Raf Levy is still alive very much at 3-4, but at 2-5, that means that Nam Sung Wook, your Grand Prix Melbourne champion from 2014, is in deep, deep, deep trouble. 7-0 tomorrow, really all that will do for the man from South Korea. Josh Utter-Leighton is up to 5-2 because Yuki Ichikawa fell to Josh in that last round. Ichikawa at 4-3. Sam Black, Willy Edel, you've just seen. Black now at 4-3, Edel 3-4. Yuya Watanabe had a terrible morning, started out 0-2. He's up to 4-3 on the warpath, the double player of the year. And Paula Vida Dama de Rosa, as a result, is 3-4. More results coming in, but for now, let's head across town over to the comfortable chairs, and it's well-deserved after a long day of all business. Let's join Marshall Sutcliffe and the 7-0 Patrick Chapin.
Thank you, Rich. I've got Patrick Chapin with me. Patrick, welcome to the somewhat easy chairs here. Yeah, don't lean back too far. We might lose you. 7-0, congratulations.
Thank you.
The perfect start. It's got to feel great. Walk us through your draft. You 3-0'd Vintage Masters. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Going into things, I thought Vintage Masters would be one of the harder formats, as I just have less experience at it than a lot of the other competitors. But Paul Rietzel had given me a crash course, and the draft went very, very, very well.
Your deck looks sick.
Things just kind of fell into place. I ended up playing a blue-red deck with almost no creatures that just won with like Keravik's Torch, multiple Prophetic Bolts, multiple Lightning Rifts, and tons of cycling cards and card draw.
Is that something that you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think I've played this format at least, I don't know, maybe 18 times, something like that, and drafted blue-red control twice before, so I was a little bit familiar. This is definitely the best version of blue-red control that I'd gotten to play with, but it ended up working out well for me, and I managed to escape the draft, in reasonable shape.
Reasonable shape, 3-0, and so that puts you 3-0 going into the Modern portion. How did you feel about your deck coming in to the 4 rounds of Modern?
Oh, I thought it was good. I think it's the best deck. It's just not.
So what are you playing for?
I'm playing blue-red Delver, and it's tuned and tweaked with Paul Rietzel did the lion's share of the work on tuning it, and I think it's the best deck, and it's just a tuned version of it. Most of my preparation for the Modern portion was getting experience with it and just getting familiarity playing with it, because there's so many little decisions to make in this format.
Sure. Now, when it comes to the actual matchups, did you guys have a reasonable idea of what you thought each player or each group of players was going to be playing, or did you just try to make your deck the best against what was probably going to be a relatively wide field?
Well, we knew it was going to be, it's kind of dicey trying to predict this field. However, we did look at all the tournament result, like every Modern tournament result from every player in the tournament, to see what their history is. Like, for instance, everybody knows Jacob Wilson's going to play Pod, and everybody knows that Sean McLaren's going to play Jeskai, and we kind of tweaked our metagame numbers a little bit, taking into consideration that for most of the players, we could narrow down what they were going to play to, one or two decks, maybe the majority of the players. There were a bunch of people that could play anything, like Josh Utterlayton.
And he's playing anything.
Or Owen Turtenwald or Ivan Falk. So there's some people that you can't nail them down, but there's some people, a bunch of people we knew with pretty good confidence what they were going to play, and that caused us to kind of tweak our numbers a little bit.
Now, when you played against Sean McLaren in the feature match here, and I was watching most of the match, and you seemed to really know the matchup. You had a very specific game plan, involving making the game go pretty long. I mean, there was a game where you resolved Treasure Cruise like 5 times or something like that. You won the game, I think, with
just a couple cards
3
left.
or 4 cards left in your library. But you seem to know the game plan from the very get-go. Do you know the matchups for all the decks pretty well at this point?
The funny thing about Modern is that for some of the decks, some of the decks are very much a deck. Like Birthing Pod is very much a deck, or Jeskai Ascendancy. For some of the decks, which I think includes Delver, it's a bunch of cards that are really good that I've played in lots of other tournaments and lots of other contexts. Like for instance, this deck is almost the exact same as a Legacy deck that I've played, and it's more just being familiar with all the cards that like all the cards to play against in Modern. Playing against Restoration Angel, playing against Lightning Helix, playing against and so on. It's more of a just familiarity with all the different cards and sort of the pace of the game, because I kind of feel like as long as I just keep trying to make good decisions with the cards, I think that the Delver deck is just significantly better than most of the decks that people play in Modern. And if I just try to focus on making each little decision as good as I can rely on getting ahead with Treasure Cruise.
It certainly seemed like it was that much better. I mean, you essentially said, let's play the long game, Sean McLaren. And Sean's deck is built to play the long game, and your long game just seemed better.
One of the big advantages of Blue-Red Delver is that it has so many spells that can threaten to do something and so little land. It doesn't need very much land to operate. And yet it almost never gets, it's almost never light on mana because it has so many ways to fix its mana. And so as the game goes on, eventually we get to a spot where if Sean can't resolve Dig Through Time, he just stalls out and draws, he's playing 8 more land than me. So he eventually just draws too much land.
Yeah. Now, put this in context for us and from a bigger picture perspective. You've gotten an ideal start here. You're 7-0. You're way ahead of the field as well. I think the next competitor is 5-2. I think if you look down the standings, but you've still got a long day ahead of you tomorrow.
Definitely.
Is your focus now fully on that, or are you going to give yourself, a couple hours to kind of enjoy what was ultimately, a really successful day one?
I'm definitely going to be going to sleep as soon as possible, just eat and go to sleep. I was up this morning at 1:30 in the morning from jet lag, so I am very much ready to call it a night and just try to get as much rest as I can. I have no doubt that I will wake up super early tomorrow, and then I can enjoy some of, tomorrow morning, just have a nice leisurely breakfast and get ready for the day, because the cons draft is going to be, I'm going to have my work cut out for me.
So are you the type of person that when you get the 7-0 start on day one, it makes you feel that much more confident and that much more close to your goal of, right now making the cut to top 4? Or do you actually have the opposite approach where now you feel the pressure, you feel the heat, like now I put myself in a position to actually do that and I actually have to do it?
I don't know. The only time, when I started out a Grand Prix undefeated, a number of years ago, I ended up not having a very good day too, and I was already kind of imagining a little too much, just kind of taking for granted that things were going to work out. Whereas in Atlanta this year at Pro Tour Journey into Knicks, I started out undefeated on day one, but there wasn't really any focus on that. There's time to think about all that kind of stuff when the tournament's over. Tomorrow's goal, get into the top 4. Ideally with, and if possible, with as good of, positioning as possible for choosing to play first. And then focus on, getting some rest over the next couple of days, getting acclimated to the time zone and focusing on the top 4.
Sure. One of the other things that you have to also not take for granted, and I'm sure you're not, is that you also picked up 7 pro points today. I mean,
pro points are sweet.
You almost won a GP. Just
probably the closest I'll ever be.
for the work that you did just today, that's in the bank.
I got to say the matches today were a little bit more challenging.
You
than
earned
GPs
them.
have been.
You earned them.
Like the competition this week has just been absolutely incredible. 3 of my opponents today taught me things after the match where they pointed something else that I would know in the future. You know, like interactions between cards. And
Interesting.
kind of tips, which I very much appreciate. You know.
Yeah.
Like a couple of the Vintage Masters ones, there were some interactions that I wasn't familiar with, and it was super kind of them to point me in the right direction.
Who did that?
Like Paul Rietzel and Lars Dam.
Wow, that's really nice of them.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of thing you usually see at this level of competition.
I mean, there is kind of a nice friendly aspect of the fact that there's only 24 people here, and most of the people know each other. It's kind of nice to have a little bit more, a different kind of energy.
Sure, it seems like a pretty tight group.
Plus, I honestly just think that those are some really A+ human beings. Like, those are just some really great guys who just want to see, who just want the tournament to be a great tournament,
Yeah, and so far it has been exactly that, especially for you, Patrick. Are you nervous about the draft? I got a little vibe from you there. You said your work's cut out for you.
Well, the 2 events tomorrow, the draft is going to be. That's the one I'm less confident in, but I definitely would not say I'm nervous. I've drafted with they're still not as tough at drafts as the drafts in our house when we practice for Pro Tours.
Yeah, for sure. You do. You definitely put yourself through battle. Patrick, thanks for taking the time to chat with us before you dive bomb into bed after you eat your meal, and we wish you all the best tomorrow. Why don't we send it now back to Rich at the news desk?
Well, that was pretty startling. That is someone who really knows their stuff. And boy, oh boy, Randy Buehler, is that man ever in a zone?
Yeah, no, it's super impressive how he's not excited yet. He's just taking this business-like approach, going all the way back to the Pro Tour Atlanta, which he viewed as a qualifier to get here. And, played this day 1 went pretty well. He's in position for day 2. I don't know. I mean, you started to see a little bit of thinking about, top 4 and play draw. I mean, he's aware of where he's at, but being able to keep that calm. I mean, at first I feel like it's almost like he's putting it on, like he's trying to play this role. But I mean, you play that role and you talk yourself into it. I mean, I think he just does feel calm, cool, and collected right now. Super impressive.
3 big results to bring you. 2 are still outstanding, but here's 3 with some pretty serious implications for various people. So first of all, Kentaro Yamamoto, who we spoke about as a kind of dark horse for this competition, he faced William Jensen in the last round, and it is Yamamoto who advances to 5-2 above the top 4 curve. And Jensen, after what feels like a tremendous day in some ways, is sort of in the pack at 4-3. Now, he's, well on course for coming back tomorrow and going 5-2 and maybe making the top 4. But it felt like a lot of the day we were talking about him as, tremendous and very interesting.
Yeah, his VMA deck looked awesome, but he only went 2-1.
Right.
His Ascension deck, had some big wins, but yeah, I mean, he also lost some tough games. Losing to Yamamoto there is less than ideal.
Yeah. So the next one, this is an epic clash because these are 2 people who just can't bear to lose. They like to win, but they can't bear to lose. And when their back is against the wall, they're almost unstoppable. Paul Rietzel and Jeremy Desani. Jeremy Desani has won Grand Prix from 0-2, essentially. Right, or maybe 1-3, but certainly back absolutely against the wall.
And Paul Rietzel now has 67% of his wins on the tournament against Jeremy Desani.
Oh, for goodness sake, because Paul Rietzel is up to 3-4 from a 1-4 start. He's won his last 2, because the 5th loss puts you in deep trouble in terms of tie breaks, apart from anything else, if it's happening on day 1. So Rietzel getting to 3-4, he will come back tomorrow and go, rattle off a draft win, that's 6-4, and then off we go into standard. Rietzel very much alive. I'd be quite scared if I was some of the other players here that Paul Rietzel wasn't shown the door from 1-4 at the back end of day 1. Speaking of shown the door, I think we have the first player who we can more or less say will not be world champion this year. And that's because Jacob Wilson got to 2-5 and Li Shichan of Hong Kong falls to 1-6.
He's the only 1-6?
I believe that, well, there are a couple of results to come in, but I'm pretty sure that he will be the only 1-6.
And what have we got in terms of 5-2s? It's Flock, Yamamoto.
Yeah, Josh Utter-Leighton is 5-2, and then, of course, 2 rounds clear, Patrick Chapin. So, still with 2 results to come. That's Sivka against Martel and Lars Dam against the Pro Tour winner Sean McLaren.
One final note on Pat Chapin, by the way. He's the only guy that 4-0'd Modern.
That's right, because Willy Edel lost in that last round
and
against
Flock,
Sam
I believe,
Black.
was 3-0, but lost to Pat. So Chapin's the only 4-0 in Modern.
Awesome stuff. Terrified to think you have to come back and do it all again tomorrow. Someone else who has just lost to Patrick Chapin, but is still in very good shape. He's 5-2, utterly dominant at the moment on the European scene, doing tremendous work there. 2 Pro Tours back-to-back. Even Flock is ready for us now with Marshall Sutcliffe.
Thank you, Rich. So you did lose to Patrick Chapin.
Yes.
But that was only one of 2 losses you took on the day. You ended up 5-2, a very good start to your tournament, especially when you consider what the cut's going to be for top 4. We don't know quite exactly, but I think if you do this again tomorrow, you could probably be in the top 4.
Yeah, I think so. And yes, 5-2 is a good start, but well, you have always that sour feeling when you lost last match. But yeah, I think 5-2 is good, I guess, and I'm happy about it.
So how did your Vintage Masters draft go?
My Vintage Masters...
Because I saw the list.
Yeah, I mean, do you like the list?
No.
I think it's very, 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 like... Why didn't you like it? It's very funny.
Okay, yeah, it was very entertaining list.
Yes.
So I said I didn't like it.
The thing is, like, when I draft this archetype, preferably try to draft Storm with Brain Freeze.
Yes.
But if you don't get Brain Freeze...
Which you didn't.
Yeah, which I didn't. In our draft, I don't think there was any opened. But if I did get it, the deck would be totally insane. I had, like, a High Tide in sideboard, I had Mind Desire in sideboard, I had a Panichron, I had 2 Frantic Searches, I had 2 Nostalgic Dreams. The deck would be great. But if you don't get Brain Freeze, you need to have, like, some plan B. And the plan B is go like blue-green, splash white control, try to get some creatures finishers and tap them out and somehow get a win. Yeah, well, the other problem of the draft was that I not only didn't see Brain Freeze, I also didn't see any deep analysis, which is like the best card draw engine for you, especially good with Nostalgic Dreams. You need those to get draws to get cards back from your graveyard discarded into Nostalgic Dreams.
Right.
So I didn't get those 2, and I really had to improvise with the draft. And I think like it didn't go that bad. Like I was 2-1 and it was fine. The black guy, I don't know the name of the rare that is drawing card in each upkeep. That was like my drawing engine.
I mean, the deck was. When you 2-1 with it, I thought, okay, this guy's the best because I mean, we saw you play it in the first game, and it looked like some Turbo Fog list or something where you're like buying back choking tethers.
Yeah, actually, I went 2-0-2-0 in the matches I won.
You did?
Yes, I did. Just the match that was on feature match camera, that was like nightmare matchup for the deck because Yuki had 3 Mesmeric Fiends in the main deck, and those cards are like really good against me. If they took something, I don't have a way to like get rid of them. Also, I can't get those cards back using Nostalgic Dreams, so that's really bad if they take Tangle or something.
Yeah, and he ended up with so many creatures that even a choking tethers
I tried to improvise inside all creatures in my sideboard in and tried to raise him, and it almost worked.
You did beat him one game.
Yeah, I beat him one game. In the third game, if I would have top decked the Tangle, sometimes around the last 2 turns, I might have won, I think.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, but he beat me.
So anyway, you made a 2-1 out of it, though. Even though the draft didn't go quite the way you wanted, you escaped with a solid 2-1, and that brought you to Modern. What did you play in Modern, and how did you feel coming in?
I played Delver, blue-red with splash for white for sideboard. And I felt good about Modern because that's the format I probably tested the most. I played the deck in Madrid, GP Madrid, so I get some extra practice in there. And I'm kind of comfortable with the deck. I like it. So that was like should be my stronger format, and the problems maybe will come tomorrow.
So you ended up finishing 3-1 with the deck today, though.
Yeah.
You got to be happy with that.
Yes. Then again, I lost the last match.
But it was the last match. Yeah. How close was that one?
It wasn't very close. Like his draws, it was pretty much mirror. Like he didn't have a splash for white, but it was very mirror-like, and I got crushed. Those 2 games wasn't very, very close. So.
Okay. So you mentioned that today was the day you felt the most prepared for.
Yeah.
And tomorrow a little bit less so.
Yes, that's true.
Why is that? Haven't had enough time to play standard?
Yeah, well, when you are playing tournaments in 4 different formats, it's like hard to get proper testing for everyone.
Yeah.
So I was testing more modern than standard, and my teammates were more testing standard. So I feel I'll probably make some mistakes tomorrow. Also, my drafting skills of Hans of Tarkir are a little bit rusty. I drafted a lot around the Pro Tour, but that's like a few weeks ago, and I didn't draft it that much lately. So yeah, it already shown in last week in GP Strasbourg, but well, we'll see. I'll try to do my best.
Yeah, you'll still try to do your best.
Yeah.
And what's your confidence level in standard at the moment?
Not very high. I mean, I meant to play different deck that I'm playing tomorrow.
Okay.
And I switched yesterday because the original deck I got list from Frenchies, and yeah, I was trying to play test it, and I was playing it that horribly that I switched to something I know more, even though it's maybe a little bit less powerful. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's usually smart to do, though, right? It's funny because most people switch the other direction.
I really hope so.
Yeah, where they have their comfortable deck, and then somebody comes up 2 days before and says, "Look at this sweet new deck," and they're like, "Yeah, I'll try that." You broke it, but you're going back.
Yeah, I'm going back. If you saw what mistakes I did with the deck that I was supposed to play originally, you would understand that was horrible.
Okay, it sounds like a smart move.
Yeah.
Well, Ivan, thanks a lot for taking the time to chat with us for a minute. Just hang out here for a sec.
Okay.
And we will now send it back to Rich at the desk.
Thanks very much, Marshall. Randy Buehler here with you as well, as we see that we are down to one match left on day one of 5 days of awesome here in Worlds Week. That result is Lars Dam against Sean McLaren, which means that Sifka against Martel is in. Tom Martel wins that. He goes to bed with a positive record at 4-3, and the Pro Tour Return to Ravnica champion Randy from the Czech Republic has to go away at 3-4, dust himself down, maybe 6-1, maybe 5-2 tomorrow. It's getting very, very tight. So I want to ask you, as we wait for that final result, and also to have a chat with Josh Utter-Leighton, who's very graciously come in and stopped himself heading off to bed, because I think a lot of the Americans really want their beds. I imagine you do too.
Maybe.
What is your take on the first day of this 5 epic days of Worlds Week?
Yeah, I've got 2 big storylines coming out of this. One of them is Josh Utter-Leighton and Jeskai Ascendancy maybe finally having that breakout in Modern that everyone's been expecting from it. I definitely think that the Ascendancy list with Fate Stitchers that doesn't bother with green seems like it's more resilient, it's more consistent, it's a harder matchup for a lot of decks. You know, if you're going to be playing Modern anytime soon, you've got to go get that list now. We've got sort of the new hot Modern deck coming out of this day. So that's a big story.
Yep.
The biggest story, though, it's Patrick Chapin.
Right.
It's Patrick Chapin just taking care of business. 7-0, came in, been dreaming of this for his entire 15-year career. You know, he's done well at Worlds before. He's gotten second. He's done well burning people at Worlds, too. You know, he's pretty good, proven he's very good at counting to 20 with red decks at Worlds. So, yeah, I mean, taking care of business. Day one in the books, ready for day 2. That's my headline.
All right, so why don't we head across for one final time today on day 1 to Marshall Sutcliffe. He's been joined by Josh Utter-Leighton.
Thank you, Rich. And I've got Raptor, Josh Utter-Leighton here on these are the easy chairs. So you can,
yeah, they're much easier than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
These are a big upgrade. I like these a lot more.
So successful day 1 for you. You finished 5-2.
Definitely happy with how it went.
You're happy with it. Yeah, I mean, against this field, and also considering what you'll need to likely make the top 4, a 5-2 is a really good start.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, my 2 best formats are now behind me. I'm far less confident for tomorrow than I was for today.
Okay, so talk to us about your Vintage Masters draft. You're super confident coming in?
Yeah.
Played it a lot?
Yeah, I did a bunch of online drafts and felt like I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do in the format.
What was your ideal, like, you know, there's a lot of viable archetypes in this set. If I could just say you're going to get a good version of your archetype of choice, what would it be for you?
Well, if I'm guaranteed to get a version, good version. I'm just going to take Storm.
You're going to take Storm.
Yeah, I think like the best Storm decks are definitely the best decks. Like they're very hard to beat. But as far as like decks that you can actually consistently get,
yes,
I think Blue Green Madness is the best, and that is what I ended up drafting.
So how good of a version, because I've seen absurd versions of Blue-Green Madness playing the format on Magic Online myself, and I've had it myself where it's been, okay, I've got some synergies, there's some things going on, but maybe it's not the best one. Where did yours land on that scale?
Mine was very good. Not like the best I've ever had online, but better than I ever would have expected to be able to get in the World's drafts. Like,
did you feel like you were the only one drafting it?
No. I mean, I felt that way, but I wasn't. Like, I certainly didn't get many actual Madness cards. Like, I didn't get any Circular Objects. I got 2 Arrogant Worms. But I got 2 Mongrels, which is the most important thing. And, like, those are just, like, Windmill Slam first picks for any green deck, not just, like, straight Madness. So getting 2 of those is, like, you know, more than you can expect, I think.
Did you first pick one?
You know,
do you remember what kicked off your draft?
Remember. No, it was not. I first picked a Waterfront Bouncer.
Okay.
And then got one 4th.
Oh.
So at that point, I'm not seeing any green cards in the first pack. But
Gotcha.
I have 2 Waterfront Bouncers, so I'm leaning towards that direction. I was basically mono blue in the first pack. Got like a couple late black aggro cards. And then in pack 2, Pack 2, I opened Mox Jet, actually. So that was good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, okay, it was all right. I only got to cast turn 1 Mongrel once in the entire draft. So it was
what
not
a
that
rip-off.
good. Yeah. And I didn't get to keep the Jet.
Yeah, they took it away from you?
Come on.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a terrible day you've had. All right, so that...
but then I got a Mongrel in the second pick and took it instead of a Sarcomancy.
Oh, okay.
Which... Like, I was kind of in the seat to be like a blue-black tempo deck, I think, but Blue-Green Madness is just so much better.
Yes.
And I figure that if the Sarcomancy doesn't wield, then I don't actually want to be in that deck anyway.
Oh, good point.
So
yeah, because there's not that many that want that card anyway. So you 2-1 with the deck, or did you?
I went 2-1.
You went 2-1. Okay.
I was in a really tight match to Sifka.
To Sifka, that brought us to the Modern portion of the day. Now, coming into Modern, you have a spicy little brew on your hands here. Talk to us about the deck. You made the deck, right?
Yeah.
It's your deck. So talk to us about it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time just trying different Ascendancy decks online and settle on this is the right way to build it. And it's just really awesome. It's really reminiscent to me of like the Dark Deck's Thopter Foundry deck.
Oh, yeah.
Because that deck was secretly just a control deck with all these combo kills in disguise. Like,
all
you want to do is sit there, draw cards, you'd kill their stuff and interact with them so that you can just sit there drawing more cards, and eventually you'll kill them with a combo.
And that's
exactly
how this
what
plays
this
out?
deck is. Like, it's a very like controlling take on it.
Okay, and you ended up going 3-1 as well.
Yeah.
So you're now at 5-2. You put yourself in a good position that if you have a strong day tomorrow, you could have a good shot at the top 4. So that's pretty great. It's a nice start. I'm going to let you go, though, because I know that you need to get some rest so that you can come back and be at full form. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, Raptor. Yep, let's send it back to the news desk and Rich Hagan.
All right. The final result of day 1 is in. Lars Dam defeats Sean McLaren. That puts Dam on the plus side at 4-3, McLaren on the minus side at 3-4, but both still very much live. 24 players came in. We believe 23 could still be your world champion. Maybe even Li Chan in 24th could still get it done with an epic run on day 2. But since there's no more magic, that must mean it's time for the end of day wrap.